Hello everyone, welcome to 3D Boost. Today we are continuing our free course on creating a 3D model of the MP5 submachine gun. In this lesson we will be working on the draft model, laying down the foundation for the high poly and game-ready versions. You will learn how to quick block out shapes and establish correct proportions before diving into the details. I opened my PureRef file. Okay, I will transfer my PureRef to another monitor and we'll look there. I also plan to place our GLTF file in Blender, which we created to release 4 dimensions. For starting dimensions, as I said, when I press Ctrl space, you can see such a menu, but this is just a quick menu of my add-on. You can access it with 1, 3, and 7 on your numpad. Okay, I will turn on screencast, and let's see how much our trellis model corresponds with dimensions of the real MP5. Okay, now we have almost 1 meter on the long axis, but the real length is about 700. Okay, with suppressors 700. Okay, it will be around 850. Something like this. Okay, high it's 260. And now with magazine, with sight. Okay, something around 300. Okay, so roughly speaking, now our dimensions coincide with those we need. Okay, I will add references images to Blender. I will drag it into the Blender from my second monitor. And now I'll scale it. Let me go to the image settings and make it transparent and depth turn to front. We see that our 3D model does not match a little, but this is not a problem. Okay, in 3D references our suppressor is shorter, but as we see in our references, image references, we have longer suppressor. Okay, I will rename my images to keep my scene clear. Also, I can place my image with front view. Okay. I can't make orthogonal front view from my game and at this image there is slightly turn to upward. Also in our screenshot we have perspective, and in Blender now we in orthogonal mode. But in terms of size, We will clarify even more, for example, using the example of a suppressor. I also want to turn on only axis aligned to see my references image only from the orthogonal side, from side or from front. Okay, and now I'm starting to make some rough drafts. And I'm adding my suppressor just with the simple cube. I also make a foregrip to correct my sizes in front size view. I'm trying to position it more precise, my front view. This screenshot was taken when we raised the weapon, as I told, and the barrel is too long. And here we're trying to match the dimensions. So, as I told, our main references is from the side, and from the front view, it's our auxiliary reference. Okay, let's start to making a fast draft of our object. After which we will just improve our object. Okay, I will turn on the filter here, I will turn on selectable. And for the main ref, as well as for the front ref, I will turn off the selectable icon, and now I can't select them. Okay. I can edit cylinder with a pretty low poly. I'm making this for with topology from the start. Okay, about 16 subdivision, it's cool for this cylinder. Okay, now I'm using the primitive to create a form of the main weapon. I also will use Boolean modifier. You can use Boolean and you can use approach with the planes to make drafts. For example, as a Boolean approach, you can make a cube and make some Boolean operations. As I showed, I have my add-on box cutter, which I can make some cuts in my objects. As I showed in the previous lesson, you can also do this thanks to the built-in add-on Bool tool in Blender. For example, you can add a cube and select your cube, go to your vanilla Blender add-on Bool tool in edit menu, and you can cut one cube from another by difference. Also, you can edit this cube in edit mode and change your geometry with your cutout, like this. I have an add-on, and due to this I can do it faster. I can cut both cubes, cylinders. I can also cut out different shapes, like knife, like this. You can do this also simply with your vanilla Blender add-on. I will also often press the button Q in the context menu for my add-on, where I have a menu ever scroll. it's the same. You can select the booleans from your context menu from the right, but I can do it with my quick menu like this. It's just my booleans on my model. Okay, so we can do this. Do it with this way, with booleans. For example, I can start making a cutout with my boolean like this. And this approach is good because you can model non-destructive way, but you also can model it with destructive way, like you can add a plane, and with a knife tool you can start making a form for your lower or your hand grip on the MP5. Okay, from the beginning you should not to do complex forms without complex geometry. Okay, and you can make your knife slices like this. In Boolean approach, you can slightly change your form with moving your cutters, but in plain approach, you should only move your points. Okay, let's make it further with a knife approach. I'm not trying to get completely into shame, into small geometries, but even on this step, the closer you to the original, the better it for your future fixes. Okay, let's cut out the trigger. And we use a knife further in order to create a real cutout. And we will press the Y key for this bracket and separate it. After it, we can press P selection and we have two planes. Okay, let's continue with our first detail. Okay, if I want to one point be on the same coordinates as the previous one, I can press, for example, G and then Z to lock the Z axis. And after it, I can press Ctrl to snap it with the Z axis of previous one. Okay, if I can understand where the one detail ends and the second starts, I can always look at my another references to understand what's going on. Oh, I should cut my detail, not like this, but like it's made on the weapon. Okay, so based on this, I should refine my model. I will press Ctrl-L to add subdivision to my edges, and I continue to make my form, make my shape. We are not trying to make here really precise modeling. For example, for 3D printing. We are making a gun for game, and our goal is to make a weapon for the game. It should be obviously similar, recognizable. All its proportions should match, but for this it's not necessary to completely recreate every millimeter and every detail of our gun. Okay, I can look again on my reference to understand what's going on here, to understand when the detail ends. Okay. I also added some subdivisions to my edges to more smooth shape. Something like this. We have created this lower part of the gun. Okay, now we can add a solidify modifier to add thickness. You can go to modifier, add solidify. And you can grab your slider to set it. You can make offset 0 to object have thickness to both sides. But I can also add a modifier with my add-on more quickly. But as you can understand, it's only solidify modifier. Compare with the simple extrusion on the edit mode, you can always change the width. It's cool, it's not non-destructible compared to this method with simple extrusion. To adjust thickness with simple extrusion, I always should go to edit mode and adjust. But with solidify, I can just grab slider and adjust my width. We can start to make upper part. For this, we can go to our reference to understand what is it. This piston moves inside the cylinder, so in fact this is just 2 cylinders. So this upper part is just one detail. As we can see, it's like 2 cylinders. 2 cylinders which merges with the magazine receiver. Okay, let's add the magazine receiver. Okay, this magazine receiver should be merged with the upper part, but we will do it later. Okay, let's add a plane and cut our magazine receiver from this to match the form. Okay, again, I understand that the magazine receiver it's one part with the upper, but now I will do it right, like different parts. Like this. This rounding flows into the cylindrical part of the upper gun. Oh, okay, I will add a little details here by pressing Ctrl-Shift-B to split vertices, to subdivide vertices. 1, 2, 3 or 4 vertices as you want. Okay, I will also add solidify modifier to this with my add-on. Like this. Obviously, it should be a little more narrow compared to the bottom part. Okay. This top covers our upper detail, so let's start with other details and we will finish with our stock. Okay, we also have a bracket on the trigger. Let's detail it a little. We will drive the bracket inside our weapon. And later with baking, we will merge the bracket with our gun with a beautiful seam. Okay, and now we are cutting the inner part of our bracket. I may have some small G's. Okay, now again, and then solidify. Now I'm just duplicate my object with modifier with solidify modifier to make a trigger. And delete unnecessary edges, and with extrude from point, I'm adding some points for trigger. As you can see on the screencast, I'm pressing the E key for extrude the vertex. So after it, I will select all my edges and press F key to fill it. Okay, adjust my thickness on solidify modifier, pressing the shift button to more precise larger scrolling. Okay, let's go further. We already have a cylinder for our hand grip or hand grip. It's pretty complex shape. So I will add a plane. I also can do it with the front view. Let's hide some objects to better view. I should turn on the possibility of selection of my front view references to precise it, because it's slightly on the right. Okay. Our weapon will be symmetrical in the early stages, so I want to see the geometry. If we can see, we always can see it on our references. We have a handle with a complex shape, narrower in some parts and more wide in another. We have the two general brackets attached to the Picatinny rail. Okay, let's make a fast cube to represent these brackets on the Picatinny rail. So it's our bracket. Now I will use my add-on to cut out part of this object with boolean. Now I want to add to my brackets mirror modifier, and I can add it on the left side of my bracket, and all my changes will be transferred to the right side with the mirror modifier. I can make a mirror modifier pretty fast with my machine tool add-on with Alt-X. Okay, now I can move my cursor and it will move symmetrically. I will add some subdivision to my cursor to make bracket form more precise. I want to create this piece on the brackets. Of course, you can use just plane, as we made lower and upper gun parts, and extrude it from plane. But I also do it with boolean, it's not a problem. So I correct my cutter to make it like break it on the reference. So now I'm hitting my cutter, and with mirror I can use mirror also on the Z axis to symmetrize my cutter vertically. Okay, so we have this brackets. Now we are positioning it due to our references. Okay, in this detail, as you can see, another detail partially enters, which also looks like some kind of cube, and it has these shapes, and after which there is one division hiding, and I'm trying to make this form. Okay, this is a draft right now, and also this is a pretty little detail, so I'm just adding rough shapes to match this. I can also use my boolean tool again to make cutter inside this shape and extrude it down to make the T shape like this. And also I should position it properly. And now I must add another detail to match this narrow part of the handle. I will delete my boolean for this and just match the sizes, adding some wood cuts, and just match this size for draft, like this. Now it doesn't matter, now I'm just doing a draft, just blocking, so that we understand the geometry of all that. Okay, now we can press Ctrl P to parent all this little object to our front handle, and I position it with the help zone, based on the side view, because it's our main reference, as I told you earlier. I also added a mirror to this part in the middle. We have it symmetrized along the x-axis. So due to this factor that our weapon was raised, the dimensions from the front view are not correct. So we should, based on the side view, to match the sizes. This object is our upper part of our handle that narrows. So we we must turn on the soft selection by pressing the O key. So we continue modeling, and let's move on to the top of our weapon. I also look at how it looks without body kits, and I suggest do it in simply with 2 cylinders. For drafting, this will do well. So we adjust the thickness of this item. So it matches the sizes of our references. I duplicate the cylinder, and the second cylinder should be larger. The second cylinder ends on this level. So this size is good for us. In future, we will merge them with Boolean and maybe bake it for a beautiful theme after baking normals from high poly. We also have 2 darts on the boss side, but I will do it later. We can make a draft of this forehand, and it have not so simple form like it looks like from the first view. Also, we can adjust our barrel. This forehand grip we can see from the front view. It's because I have no such good references, because I can't do it in my game in Arena Breakout Infinite. I can't look through the gun totally from front. So I will look from the front and adjust my size, but the main view is from the side. It's still a draft now, and from the side view I will correct it. I can make a mirror with my add-on with machine symmetrize. You can also, if you don't have this add-on, do it with, for example, pressing F3 and start writing symmetrize. And then in this tab you can choose what you want to do with the symmetry. Here I'm interested in symmetry from -x to +x. And okay, what I'm doing is simply with my add-on by Alt-X combination. Okay. I'm deleting the unnecessary vertices. Looking at my references, I will adjust the form slightly. We can also see that this shape is too wide. I'm correcting it with the soft selection from front view. Regarding its height, we now will figure it out from the side view. I am also adding the solidifying modifier. Also, I need to apply scale to modifier works property. And now with this side view, we can understand its correct location. We should more elongate it on the z-axis. So we see that on height, our detail should tend somewhere there. Here the fastening of the Picatinny plank starting there. So this detail should end somewhere here, like this. And now I add some thickness by solidify. Okay. Now we can hide the suppressor and adjust the form a little. I have also certain cutout for barrel, and now I can make it with my Boolean add-on. Okay, I should correct the barrel size and the cutout for it. We could create a bullet size. For example, find out the sizes on the side and make a bullet for our barrel but for game ready model it's not so necessary. Of course, barrel must correspond the caliber and the bullets for our game ready model, so later we will change it slightly to correspond with our bullet. I also quickly add this washer here, simply to add result. And another one cylinder and one foresight. Okay, I will add a plank, Picatinny rail. There are same rails on the sides of the gun, but slightly different. Okay, let's add a cube here, adjust it to size. And the end of the forend, in fact, the rail is connect with the forend, but it will be, we should model it later. I'm just making a rail here for now. And the rail have a specific form from the front view. Let's correct the thickness of the rail. Okay, let's make a boolean. You can make it with the regular modifier, but I'm doing with my add-on. Okay, I correct the shape. And also, in fact, the Picatinny rail in this section does not have bevel edge. Okay. And I'm also using this here array modifier with my add-on, but you can do it with simply add modifier from the right side and correct the distance. I'm using shift button to more precise adjusting. And now I can move this plank, and as you can see, my cutters goes with it. The bottom rail is slightly different in comparison with side rails. Side rails have less height. Okay, let's adjust the form with the simple bevel. And let's adjust our cutter arrays to match the reference. And now it completely matches the required size. Okay, let's completely finish its profile. So I will add here one cutout with my key, with my knife. I'm pressing the key button. After it, I'm pressing C button to cut through, and then I'm pressing Z button to lock on the Z axis. And now I can reduce this on the Z axis. As I told you, you can see all my buttons which I pressed on the right side with this screencast. Okay, let's position it correctly. Okay. And now I can see that it's interesting shape from the front view. Our front part of our shape is different. So in fact, we should make the back of this forend like this. Back of the forend has this shape. Okay, we can just make it. We can make our foregrip generally flat, and in further we will make the front part of it slightly different. We'll put it like this, but we should also make it even thinner. I'm using symmetrize often by pressing Alt X. And it should be higher. We can also turn on the symmetry with the X and Z axis to make just one part of our forend. And as you see, all other parts is symmetrically changed. Now I can select my Picatinny rail. After it, I'm selecting a forend and make a mirror. You can also do it with the mirror modifier and pick as a mirror object our forend. Okay, now we want to add a lower rail. Doing this, I will copy my cutters, because if I just duplicate my rail and move it to down, it will move without cutters. But I select my cutters, select my rail, and press Shift D. After it, I don't understand that I want to duplicate my rail with duplicates of cutters. And now I'm deleting the mirror modifier, rotate it along the y-axis, and after which I will center it. Right to the center. Okay, now I'm positioning my cutters. And as I told, the bottom rail have slightly higher profile, so I corrected. We stopped at the rails and the forend, and let's continue further. I want to quickly cut a hole in the back. For example, I can just duplicate my forend, disable the boolean from the copy, and in this case I just use the standard bool tool by pressing Ctrl and minus. Well, in future we should adjust this form, but in general it's normal for draft. I want to cut off some parts of my cylinder, of upper part of the gun. Okay. We should close the holes to Boolean works properly. And now I mirror my cutter against my upper object. Okay, and let's make this part in the upper part. And just duplicate our cutter, reduce its size, and let's press Ctrl lines. And now I can just edit the shape in the edit mode. And thanks to the fact that I copied it, it also immediately has a mirror modifier. Okay. I just add a cube here, and in future it will be part of my forend. Just that the shape I need is preserved. So here we are done. I can also duplicate the cylinder. To position it, I select all this face and move the 3D cursor to them, after which I move the current object to the 3D cursor. Okay. I forget to enable screencast. Okay, some other simple forms. And I also doing this trick with 3D cursor. I make cursor to selected, and then I'm selecting the object and press selected to 3D cursor to move the object to the center of other object. Next, I want to make some small cuts on the muffler or the suppressor to repeat it form. I'm trying to make it with my DOM. Pretty tricky. I wanted to make a bevel only on the long edges, but now it doesn't work, so I just make a bevel modifier on the whole suppressor, and then I just cut the ends of my suppressor and change the boolean and move the boolean after bevel modifier. And now bevel works only on the long edges, and after it I cut the caps of the cylinder. Now I'm also making boolean to cut the hole in suppressor and change its searching. Okay, now I want to this cut match the position of my barrel. Okay, so we have a magazine left, butt, and the side. Let's continue with the Picatinny rail. For this I just copy the rail from bottom. I'm copying it with the cutters. Okay. And just adjusting the form. The part of the rail ends here, but another part also continues. Due to the fact that I just made an extrude, here is a slightly incorrect geometry in topology. I want to immediately correct it. Yeah, I made another loop cut by pressing Ctrl R. And so we have a small hole here again, and I should press M by distance. Okay, as I can see on our references, there is a white part behind the rail. Therefore, on the draft here, we should make some corrections. The rail attached right there, yes. And we should make this part wider. I can make some buttons to match the form. And I pull the free shape from my part, from my geometry. It has approximately this shape. Okay, let's slightly change the amount of the bullets in our array. Okay. We can move to the pads. Also here it's clearly visible in the view from behind what it's it, and in the side view. It's good for the judge. I'm just copying the upper part, and as we can deleting my boolean from the cylinders. To align perfectly one vertex with other, you can press Ctrl while grab them, and the magnet tool will turn on. Okay, it's just a rough sketch. I'm copying the cylinder and modify its shape with the soft selection tool. Yeah, so working with the booleans. Let's add a cylinder for this element, after which we will add 2 guides for the butt. And we will model the butt. As you can see, I'm just adding a simple primitive connecting the forms. These guys, in fact, should be inserted here. There will be more such overhead wider parts, and they are inserted into it. So now, for the draft, we will use a simple font. And some barrel. I can also expand this part for that guide. I can also make it stream. And yeah, after it. And then I applied my drone with symmetry. But you can use symmetry by pressing F3. And now I'm applying mirror relative to object. And let them model the butt of the submachine gun. I will do it with the plane. The same approach that we use in the whole draft. If necessary, I'll add subdivision either through the Ctrl Shift B on the points, or by Ctrl R on the edge. Now we have the shape like this. And connecting the points. And extrude to the one side, and then I symmetrize to another side. I will make it quite rough right now, just to follow the form. And I'm using the knife here. But we also could use Boolean or another variations of modeling tools. Of course, our handle should be more rounded, but we will do this later on the modeling part. So I want to make a draft at all. So we could have a general draft open. I'm trying to add a bevel, but as you can see, because we have pretty bad geometry here, the bevel looks and works bad. Okay, now let's continue with the side. If you look from the front, it's not symmetrical, but for now we can make it symmetrical. For example, I can do this with the help of a cube and with booleans. But we also can make it with the plane approach. And let's cut some parts with the boolean. As I told it, if you have not this done, you just use your cube to make a simple boolean and then modify a cube cutter to receive this form. This bracket has the shape like this. So here we can make some bevel. Let's also make past this holes. You can really see that this side is actually thin, and there is another part inside the first one. I will try to make a boolean right now. You can also use, instead of boolean, insert tool in edit mode. But with boolean I can adjust this form, the form of a cutter, later. And inside this side we have a shape like outer one, and I just copying the outer form, but make it a little smaller. And now I'm copying my cuts and make them slightly bigger. And now in my booleans for inner part I'm selecting the another cutters. I'm copying this cutter, expand it, and then I'm use it for inner part. And another cutter for the height itself. And as we can see, this shape goes even further. I expand this object to the front, and now I should slightly correct my cutter. As we can see, there is a roundish part. So I'm adjusting my upper cutter, and then I maybe use another one cutter, why not? For faster approach. Like this. So we have all parts except magazine. Let's look at the references to understand what the magazine is. It's like a triple cylinder, and then it's inserted to the magazine receiver. Okay. Let's add a simple cylinder with maybe 24 edges. I'm scaling it on the y-axis, one local y-axis, and move it to the place. If you want to scale it on the local axis, you should press twice the axis unit. For example, if you want to make it smaller in width, you should press scale and then Z and Z again, and you will reduce it with along the z-axis locally. And if I want to scale it in all axes except z-axis, I should press scale, then shift Z, Z. It will be scaling along the x and y axis locally, except z-axis. I'm adding the bevel to the top part of this cylinder. And I'm just copying the cylinders and move them along Z and along local Z axis by pressing G, Z, Z. And so we have 4 cylinders. We should make it narrow and well, by the way, right now we're just using a box as a part of a magazine. But later we should make this form, this shape, this transition between cylinders and box. But now I'm just adding the box to follow the form. And I'm copying the rotation of the cylinders to this box have the same rotation as the cylinders. Something like this. In this way, we've finished the quick draft. Naturally, in the future, we will have to refine these forms, both in size and in full detail, but for now, this is pretty good. Our MP5 draft model is complete. This draft will serve as the base for the next stages of our 3D pipeline. Stay tuned for the next episodes.